Most people scroll TikTok for laughs, for dance challenges, for funny pranks. But one 30-second clip shattered my family's carefully constructed image and exposed a secret that had been buried for over 2 decades. My name is Jenna Pierce. I'm 31, and a month ago, my cousin Ethan posted what he thought was a harmless family throwback video. It was supposed to be lighthearted, nostalgic, a montage of old family reunion footage from 2009. We were kids back then, smiling, carefree. Our biggest worries were summer homework and who got the biggest slice of Grandma's peach pie. But tucked inside that video, at the 22-second mark, was a moment none of us noticed until the comments pointed it out. A whispered conversation between my Aunt Claudia and my mother, Evelyn. She can't ever know Frank isn't her biological father, not after what we did. 9 words. That's all it took to destroy everything. Within hours, the video went viral. #Carson Family Secrets trended on TikTok and Twitter. Reaction videos, legal analysts speculating, influencers weighing in. Even mainstream news started picking it up. By the time I woke up the next morning, my phone had over 300 missed notifications, and the family group chat was a dumpster fire of accusations, denials, and desperate pleas to make it go away. But it was too late. The secret was out. And for my cousin Amber, who had lived her entire life believing Frank Carson was her father, the truth hit like a hurricane. Now, my family is scrambling to erase the video. They've hired lawyers, threatened Ethan, begged me to take Amber's side and help cover the story with a less damaging version. But what they don't realize is, I'm done protecting them. Because this isn't just about a secret parentage scandal. It's about the lies they told, the inheritance they stole, and the way they tried to erase anyone who got too close to the truth. They're not just trying to delete a video, they're trying to delete me, and I won't let them. The first text came from Sophie, my best friend. Sophie, Jenna, go to TikTok now. #Carson Family Secrets is trending. WTF. I had just sat down at my desk with a fresh cup of coffee, ready to dive into client emails for the day. I frowned, unlocked my phone, and typed the hashtag into the search bar. My stomach dropped. There it was. Ethan's video, already at 1.4 million views. The caption read, "Throwback to the Carson Family Reunion, '09. Who remembers? #family vibes. Oops. I tapped play. The video started with grainy footage from an old camcorder, kids playing tag in the backyard, my Uncle Frank flipping burgers at the grill, Aunt Claudia laughing with my mom, Evelyn on the porch swing. The nostalgia almost made me smile, until the camera zoomed accidentally past a half-open window. Inside, Claudia and Evelyn sat at the kitchen table. The audio was faint, but TikTok's auto-captioning had picked it up perfectly. She can't ever know Frank isn't her biological father. Not after what we did. The comments section was exploding. Truth Seeker 99. Excuse me? What did they do? Drama Hunter. Somebody needs to call Amber. Law and Order fan. That's not just family tea. That's a legal thriller. I felt the blood drain from my face. I didn't even notice when my phone started ringing. It was Ethan. "Jenna, I didn't mean for this to happen," he babbled the second I answered. "It was supposed to be a joke. I didn't hear what they were saying until the comments started blowing up, I swear." "Ethan," I said sharply, "delete the video. Now." I tried. It's gone from my account, but people already downloaded it. It's everywhere. Too late. My thoughts immediately jumped to Amber. I opened our text thread and typed, "Amber, call me. It's important." No reply. Instead, a new text popped up in the family group chat. "Uncle Frank, who posted this? Delete it immediately. This is slander." Aunt Claudia. "Jenna, control your cousin before this gets worse." My mom. "We need to talk. Privately. Now." The panic was palpable, but the internet doesn't care about family panic. By the time I refreshed the page, the video had hit 3 million views. Reaction videos, stitches, people digging into public records, family trees, anything they could find. And in the middle of it all, Amber's name. She couldn't avoid this. None of us could. But the story didn't end there. I closed the app and grabbed my keys. I needed to find Amber. I needed to get to her before anyone else did. I drove across town to her apartment. Every stoplight felt like a punishment. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. Amber's building came into view. News vans were already parked outside. Reporters loitered near the entrance, hoping for a comment or a glimpse of the woman at the center of the viral storm. I cursed under my breath and pulled around the back alley. Amber had given me a spare key months ago when she moved in. I prayed she hadn't changed the locks. I took the service elevator up to the 3rd floor and knocked gently. "Amber? It's me, Jenna. Open up." No response. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. The apartment was dim, curtains drawn. Amber sat on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, phone dark in her lap. Her eyes were hollow. "You saw it," she whispered. I nodded. "I'm so sorry." "Everyone knows now. They won't stop calling. Reporters, strangers, even people from work." She buried her face in her hands. "I can't go outside. I can't breathe." I sat beside her and placed a comforting hand on her back. "We'll get through this. Together." She looked up, tears brimming. "Why didn't they tell me, Jenna? Why did they lie for so long?" I had no answer, only more questions, and a growing fury toward everyone who had let this happen. Just then, my phone buzzed. A new message in the family group chat. "Frank, we need to meet, tonight. No lawyers, no phones. Living room at 8 p.m. sharp. Claudia." Delete all posts and comments mentioning the video immediately. No one speaks to the press. This ends now. I showed Amber the message. "They want to erase it all," I said. "They want to make it disappear, like it never happened." Amber wiped her face. Her voice was steady now, cold. "Then let's make sure they can't." At exactly 8:00 p.m., Amber and I walked into Frank and Claudia's living room. The air was heavy. The curtains were drawn, shutting out the world. On the mantel above the fireplace, family portraits smiled down on us, frozen in time. Smiles that now seemed like a lie. Frank sat at the head of the room, Claudia beside him, stiff as a board. My mother, Evelyn, was perched on the edge of the couch, her eyes darting between me and Amber. Uncle Robert and Aunt Louise were also there, relatives who had once treated Amber and me like daughters, but now wore faces of cold calculation. Ethan sat in the corner, shoulders hunched, eyes red. "Finally," Frank said, his voice sharp. "We can speak like adults, without social media vultures and public drama." "Adults?" Amber shot back. "Is that what you call people who lie for 30 years? Frank's jaw clenched. "We're here to fix this, not to point fingers." Claudia folded her arms. "The video is out. Damage control is our only option." "You mean erasing the truth," I said. "Call it what you want," Evelyn interjected. "The world doesn't need to know our private family matters, and Amber doesn't need strangers digging into her life." "Strangers didn't destroy her trust," I snapped. "You did." The room went silent. Finally, Frank cleared his throat. "We've already hired a crisis PR firm. They'll spin this as a deepfake video, AI manipulation. We'll release a statement saying the audio was faked." Amber's eyes widened. "You're going to lie again? Even now?" "It's not a lie," Claudia insisted. "It's protection." Ethan spoke up, voice trembling. "I've already had people calling my job, my school. I'm getting threats." Frank nodded. "That's why we must act fast. Ethan will post an apology saying he was hacked. Jenna, you'll issue a statement backing that up." "No," I said firmly. "Excuse me?" Claudia hissed. "I'm not lying to the world, and I'm sure as hell not lying to Amber." Evelyn leaned forward. "Think carefully, Jenna. You work in marketing. Your reputation matters. If this spirals further, it won't just ruin the family. It will ruin you." "If I stay quiet," I replied, "it'll ruin who I am." Amber took a deep breath. "They've already erased enough of me. My name, my rights, my truth. I'm done playing along." Frank stood abruptly. "If you go public with any more information, you'll force my hand. There are legal avenues I can pursue. Let me guess, I said, rising to meet his glare. Defamation? Breach of family confidentiality? Good luck. The truth isn't slander. Claudia's face paled. You two think you're brave, Evelyn whispered. But you're just naive. You have no idea what's at stake. Amber narrowed her eyes. Then tell us, what are you so desperate to hide beyond the obvious? No one answered, but I noticed the way Claudia's hand gripped Frank's arm, the way Evelyn refused to meet my gaze. There was more, something bigger, and they were terrified we'd find it. When Amber and I walked out of Frank and Claudia's house that night, a cold wind swept through the dark street. But it wasn't just the chill that made us shiver. It was the weight of what we now knew and what we suspected. They're hiding something bigger, Amber said. Did you see Claudia's face? And my mom? They looked like they were about to collapse. I nodded. And the way they kept talking about what we did, it's not just about who your father is. It's about money. Or power. Maybe both. We got into my car. Amber stared out the window, silent for a long moment. We have to find out what it is. And we will, I promised. The next morning, we met at my apartment. I grabbed my laptop. Amber had brought 2 boxes of old family documents, things she'd rescued from her parents' attic years ago. We spread them across my kitchen table, tax forms, old bank statements, birth certificates, property deeds. We start here, I said. Hours passed. Most of the documents were routine, mortgages, utility bills, birthday cards tucked between files. But then Amber froze, holding a yellowed folder. Jenna, look at this. She handed me a notarized document. Carson Family Trust. Revised beneficiaries. 1998. The listed heirs. Frank Carson, primary. Amber Carson, secondary. But scrawled in shaky handwriting beneath Amber's name was a single line. Secondary beneficiary status suspended pending alternative designation. What does that mean? Amber asked. I read it twice. It means, at some point, someone removed you as the next in line for the family inheritance. And they never told you. Amber's face went pale. They cut me out, even back then. Not just cut you out. They tried to cover it up. That's why they're panicking now. If this goes public, it's not just a scandal, it's inheritance fraud. Amber's eyes darkened. And Mom helped them do it. We dug deeper. Hidden among the folders, we found old emails printed out between Frank and a lawyer named Mitchell Graves. The subject lines were chilling. Beneficiary adjustment finalized. Evelyn's approval. Proceed with transfer. Evelyn, my own mother. She wasn't just a passive bystander. She had approved whatever they did. They didn't just hide your father's identity, I said. They restructured the entire family trust behind your back, and they made sure no one would ever find out. Amber clenched her jaw. Until Ethan's video. I nodded. Until the video. Suddenly, my phone buzzed. Private number. I hesitated, then answered. A low male voice came through the line. Stop digging, or the next secret that comes out will ruin more than just reputations. Before I could respond, the line went dead. Amber's eyes widened. Who was it? I stared at the phone, adrenaline flooding my veins. Someone who just confirmed we're getting too close. The next morning, Amber and I sat at my dining table surrounded by a fortress of folders and paperwork. Coffee cups littered the table. Neither of us had slept much. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard that voice on the phone. Stop digging. We need to find Mitchell Graves, I said. The lawyer from those emails. He's the one who processed the change to the family trust. Amber nodded, pulling her laptop closer. I already searched him. He's retired. But guess what? He still keeps an office downtown, part-time consulting. That was all we needed. 2 hours later, we stood outside a weathered office building in the old financial district. A brass plaque read, Graves and Halloway, Estate Law and Trust Management. Amber hesitated. Do you think he'll talk to us? We won't give him a choice. The waiting room smelled like old paper and lemon cleaner. A young assistant glanced up as we entered. Mr. Graves doesn't take unscheduled. Tell him it's about the Carson Family Trust, I interrupted, and about Evelyn Pierce. The name worked like magic. The assistant's eyes widened. She disappeared into the back. Moments later, an older man emerged, mid-70s, sharp suit, eyes like steel. "Ms. Pierce? Ms. Carson?" His voice was steady. "Come in." We followed him into a dim office lined with towering bookshelves. "You've put me in quite a situation," he began. "Your parents have already warned me not to speak to you. They said you were confused, emotional." Amber's lips tightened. "We're not confused. We know about the beneficiary changes. We know they cut me out, and we want the truth." Mr. Graves exhaled heavily, sinking into his chair. "I'm bound by confidentiality, but given what's already become public knowledge..." He opened a desk drawer and pulled out a file stamped "Confidential." Carson Trust. "Your mother and Frank approached me in 1998, he said. At the time, the trust listed Amber as the secondary beneficiary. That changed shortly after a significant event." "What event?" I asked. "A settlement." He looked Amber in the eye. "Your biological father contested the trust. He argued that, as your legal guardian at birth, he retained certain rights." Amber's breath hitched. "My biological father?" Graves nodded. "Frank and Claudia were desperate to prevent any legal claim from him. The easiest solution? Remove you from the trust entirely. They assured me it was temporary, until things calmed down." "Who is he?" Amber whispered. Graves hesitated. "I'm not at liberty." "We have a right to know," I insisted. He opened another drawer. After a pause, he withdrew a faded envelope. "Paternity settlement agreement in 1998. Amber snatched it. Her eyes scanned the name. She gasped. "Nathan Lowell!" I blinked. "That name, that's..." "He's the CEO of Lowell Enterprises," Amber finished, her voice shaking. "The logistics conglomerate." I knew the company. Everyone did. They owned half the shipping infrastructure along the East Coast. "He fought for you?" I asked. Amber nodded slowly. "But he lost. They must have paid him off to walk away." Graves confirmed it. "Your mother and Frank paid him a 7-figure settlement. In exchange, he agreed to terminate all parental claims." Amber clutched the envelope. "They bought him out. They bought me out." "Why keep this secret?" I asked. "Why not tell Amber the truth once she was old enough?" Graves shook his head. "I asked the same. Claudia insisted it was for Amber's safety. Frank was less noble. He worried about splitting the trust and the press fallout." "So they buried it," Amber said bitterly. Graves leaned forward. "There's more. Weeks after the settlement, a new clause was added to the trust. If any beneficiary attempted to contest the terms or involve outside counsel, the remaining assets would default to the legal spouse. At the time, that meant Frank. So if Amber fights this now, she risks losing everything." Silence fell. Then Amber stood, her shoulders straight, her eyes clear. "I don't care. I've already lost enough." Graves nodded approvingly. "You remind me of your father. He didn't want to abandon you, but the Carsons made sure he had no choice." "Can we contact him?" I asked. Graves hesitated. "He's difficult to reach, reclusive. After the settlement, he withdrew from most public life, but..." He scribbled a phone number on a business card. "This is his private counsel. If you explain the situation, they might convince him to meet." Amber took the card. "Thank you." As we turned to leave, Graves added, "One more thing. Be careful. The Carsons didn't just bury this secret. They protected it with everything they had." Outside, Amber clutched the envelope to her chest. "I have a real father," she whispered. "One who tried to fight for me." I nodded. "And now we fight for him. And for you." Amber's phone buzzed. A new message from an unknown number. "Stop, or your next family reunion will be at a funeral." She looked at me, fear flashing in her eyes. "They know we found Graves." I gripped her arm. Then let them be afraid for once. We're not stopping. The next morning, Amber and I sat at my kitchen island, staring at the card Graves had given us. A phone number. A single link to the man who, for years, had existed only as a ghost in Amber's life. Nathan Lowell. "Do we call?" Amber asked, her fingers trembling over the phone. "We have to," I said. "But we need to be smart about it. If the Carsons are monitoring us, and they are, we can't risk tipping them off." Amber nodded. "We use a burner phone, public Wi-Fi, no traceable accounts." Her calm determination was new. Gone was the devastated woman from the family council. This Amber had a mission. By noon, we sat in a crowded cafe downtown. The burner phone was ready. Amber dialed. 3 rings. Then a voice. "Lowell Enterprises Legal Office." Amber cleared her throat. "I need to speak with Nathan Lowell. It's about the Carson Trust and his daughter." A pause. 1 moment. The hold music was an instrumental version of Claire de Lune. Soothing. Unsettling. Finally, a new voice answered. Deeper. Controlled. "Ms. Carson." Amber's breath caught. "Yes." "This is Nathan Lowell's counsel. Mr. Lowell is aware of the situation. He will meet you, but under specific conditions." "Anything," Amber said. "No recording devices, no media contact. The meeting will be at a neutral location. We'll send details shortly." "Thank you," Amber whispered. 48 hours later, we arrived at a private garden in a botanical conservatory. Closed to the public for the winter season, security guards loitered discreetly at the entrances. Nathan Lowell waited at the far end beneath a glass dome. He was tall, silver hair, impeccably dressed in a navy overcoat. But it was his eyes, clear, sharp, the same piercing green as Amber's, that struck me most. "Amber," he said softly. She froze. I didn't know if you'd really come." "I've followed your life from afar," he said. "I promised your mother I would stay out of sight, but not out of care." Amber's eyes filled. "Why didn't you fight harder?" Nathan sighed. "I tried. But Claudia and Frank had power, lawyers, money. I thought if I stayed quiet, you'd have stability, a future." He paused. "But I see now they took even that from you." Amber handed him the envelope from Graves. "They erased me. Legally, financially, personally." Nathan read it quickly. His jaw tightened. "Typical Carson tactics. They knew exactly how to use the system against you." "Can you help us?" I asked. Nathan looked between us. "Yes, but we must move carefully. They'll weaponize every tool they have. Money, media, intimidation." Amber nodded. "They already have. Someone sent a death threat." Nathan's eyes darkened. "Then it's time we even the playing field." Nathan's legal team moved fast. A top-tier crisis communications firm crafted a statement framing Amber as the victim of fraud and family betrayal. No names, no accusations, just facts. Within hours, the narrative shifted. Influencers and journalists who once speculated about Carson family drama now debated inheritance law and victims' rights. Nathan filed an official motion to reopen the Carson Trust case, citing new evidence of manipulation and coercion. Amber's status as a beneficiary was reasserted. The Carsons retaliated with everything they had. They filed a restraining order against Amber, claiming harassment. They leaked private photos of her to the media, painting her as unstable. Claudia even went on a morning talk show, tears streaming, calling Amber's claims a tragic misunderstanding fueled by outsiders. "They're gaslighting the world," I muttered, watching the interview. Amber gritted her teeth. "Let them. The truth is stronger." Graves provided more than paperwork. He also supplied a series of recordings, conversations between Frank, Claudia, and Evelyn discussing the trust alterations and settlement payoffs. We uploaded the files to a secure cloud server. Nathan's attorneys prepared to submit them to court, but someone else found them first. At midnight, my phone buzzed. A burner number. "Stop this now, or the next leak won't be about the Carsons. It'll be about Amber and Jenna. You'll both regret it." I swallowed hard. They're desperate. That means we're winning. Amber nodded. No turning back. Nathan arranged a press conference. Amber would speak, publicly, on her terms. The night before, we rehearsed her statement. "You don't have to do this," I told her. Amber shook her head. "I do. They tried to erase me. They failed." The next morning, under a cold gray sky, Amber stood at a podium before a sea of reporters. "For years, I believed I had a family built on love and trust. I was wrong. That family deceived me, manipulated me, and tried to erase my identity to protect their wealth and reputation. Today, I reclaim my name, my rights, and my truth." Flashbulbs exploded. The crowd roared. I stood beside Nathan. His hand tightened on mine. "You both changed the narrative," he said. "Now let's finish this." The days following Amber's press conference felt like living inside a hurricane. The video of her speech exploded online, millions of views in hours. Supporters flooded social media. Survivors of inheritance fraud and family betrayal shared their stories under the hashtag #AmberFightsBack. But so did the Carsons. Frank and Claudia filed a countersuit alleging defamation and intentional infliction of emotional distress. They claimed Amber's actions endangered family businesses and reputations. Even Evelyn, my own mother, released a public statement disowning me. Jenna Pierce has acted recklessly and dishonorably, choosing social media fame over family unity. It stung, more than I cared to admit. "She's trying to salvage her image," Nathan said. "Don't let it get to you." But it wasn't just my mother's betrayal. I'd lost clients, sponsors. Brands I managed PR for were quietly cutting ties. The Carsons weren't just fighting Amber. They were dismantling my life, piece by piece. Then came the subpoena. I was officially named as a co-defendant in the defamation suit. "They're trying to bankrupt us," Amber muttered. "Not trying," I said. "It's working." Nathan's lawyers moved fast, freezing assets tied to the Carson Trust to prevent further manipulation. But Frank and Claudia still had resources, allies, and secrets. Secrets we hadn't uncovered. Late one night, Ethan showed up at my apartment. His face was pale, eyes hollow. "I found something," he whispered. He handed me a leather-bound ledger. The pages were fragile, covered in Frank's handwriting. "What is this?" I asked. "Uncle Frank's financial records, private ones. Dad kept them hidden in the cabin safe." Ethan's voice trembled. "I thought it was just old junk, but look." He pointed to a series of entries labeled NL settlements, payments, not just the seven-figure settlement Graves had mentioned, but recurring transactions over 2 decades paid to an offshore account linked to Nathan Lowell. "But Nathan said he cut ties," Amber said. I frowned. "Or someone paid someone to keep him quiet long after." We scanned deeper. That's when we found it. Entry. NL transfer. Silence clause activation 2015. Amber's face drained of color. 2015. That was the year my biological father withdrew from public life completely, sold off shares, disappeared. Nathan had lied, or someone had manipulated him into silence. "We need answers," I said. Nathan agreed to meet again at the Botanical Conservatory. Amber laid the ledger on the bench between them. "Explain this." Nathan's face hardened. "Where did you get that?" "Does it matter?" I demanded. "You said you withdrew willingly, but Frank's been paying someone in your name for years. Silence clauses?" Nathan hesitated. For the first time, he seemed afraid. "It wasn't me," he said finally. "After I lost the settlement, I tried to start over, but in 2015 a man approached me, said he represented an anonymous party willing to pay me to stay quiet permanently." "You took the deal," Amber whispered. Nathan lowered his head. "At the time, I thought it would protect you. The threats against me were escalating. Lawsuits, anonymous attacks. I was told if I didn't comply, the damage would extend to anyone I associated with, including you, Jenna." "Me?" My stomach flipped. "Your mother, Evelyn, was part of it. She wanted all loose ends tied up, including anyone who might help Amber uncover the truth." Amber's lips parted. That's why Evelyn disowned Jenna, not just because of the lawsuit. She's been part of this cover-up for years. Nathan nodded. I thought staying quiet would end it, but it never does. With people like the Carsons, silence is never enough. They want control. As the court date loomed, the Carsons escalated their campaign. Fabricated emails leaked to the press, accusing Amber and me of blackmail. Deep fake videos circulated showing Amber in compromising situations. Fake, but convincing. Frank even filed criminal charges for fraud and harassment. They'll stop at nothing, Amber said. Neither will we, I replied. We released the ledger to the press. Public reaction was swift and brutal. The Carsons' allies began distancing themselves. Sponsors pulled out. Stock in Carson Industries plummeted, but the most important shift? The public finally saw us as victims, not villains. 2 days before the court hearing, Claudia contacted Amber. Meet me, the message read. Alone. It's a trap, Nathan warned. It's a chance, Amber countered. Against our advice, she agreed. The meeting was held at the family's old vacation home, ironically where the 2009 reunion footage had been filmed. I hid in the car nearby, phone ready to call the police. Amber stepped onto the porch where Claudia waited. Why now? Amber asked. Claudia looked exhausted, defeated. Because it's over, she said. Frank's going to flee the country. Evelyn has already shifted assets offshore. They'll leave you to clean up the mess, but I'm done. She handed Amber a flash drive. What's this? The original trust documents, recordings of meetings, proof of every lie, every payoff. I kept copies in case Frank ever turned on me. Why give them to me? Claudia's eyes filled with tears. Because I've lost everything, and because once I loved you like my own. Amber returned to the car, clutching the drive. We have what we need, she said. I started the engine. Let's finish this. The courtroom was packed. Journalists, bloggers, supporters wearing #Amber Fights Back pins. Even a few influencers who'd helped the story go viral sat in the gallery, phones ready. Amber sat beside me, shoulders square, chin high. Nathan was on her other side. His usual calm now sharpened into something fierce. Across the aisle, Frank, Claudia, and Evelyn formed a brittle line. No longer the confident power players they once were. Frank's face was gaunt. Claudia's eyes darted nervously. Evelyn refused to look my way at all. The judge entered. Court was in session. Today's hearing, the judge began, will consider the motion to amend the Carson Family Trust, review allegations of fraud and coercion, and address defamation countersuits. Amber's lawyer, Ms. Garza, rose first. Your Honor, we present irrefutable evidence that Amber Carson was removed from the Carson Trust under fraudulent pretenses. We also submit audio recordings and financial ledgers showing sustained efforts to silence both Ms. Carson and Mr. Lowell, her biological father. Garza handed over the flash drive Claudia had given us. The judge reviewed the evidence in silence. Clip after clip played. Frank's voice admitting to cutting Amber out, Claudia's emails arranging payments, even Evelyn's recorded conversation with Graves approving the beneficiary changes. The room was silent except for the click of the judge's pen. Finally, the defense stood. Frank's lawyer stumbled through denials, claimed the audio was doctored, the ledger was fabricated, but no one believed him, not after Claudia stood. Your Honor, I confirm the authenticity of the documents and recordings. I take full responsibility for my role. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Even Frank recoiled, as if Claudia had physically struck him. Evelyn shrank in her chair, lips pressed into a bloodless line. The judge's gavel struck the bench. Given the overwhelming evidence, the court orders the full reinstatement of Amber Carson as beneficiary. Furthermore, this court finds sufficient grounds to freeze all Carson assets pending further investigation into financial fraud, coercion, and conspiracy. Frank's lawyer tried to protest, but the judge silenced him with a look. Additionally, a warrant will be issued for Frank Carson's arrest. Any attempt to flee jurisdiction will be considered obstruction of justice. Frank's face collapsed in shock. Evelyn stood abruptly. This is a travesty. You're tearing this family apart. I finally met her eyes. "No, Evelyn. You did that years ago. We're just bringing it to light." Frank was taken into custody before he even left the courthouse. Claudia, though guilty, was offered leniency in exchange for her cooperation. Evelyn tried to run. Authorities intercepted her at a private airfield hours later. By evening, news outlets everywhere reported the downfall of the Carson dynasty. Inheritance fraud scandal rocks East Coast elite. TikTok video sparks major legal victory. Amber Carson and Jenna Pierce, truth tellers or family destroyers? But the public knew the answer. Our names trended beside words like brave, resilient, justice. Even brands that had abandoned me reached out to apologize. But Amber and I weren't interested in apologies. We were interested in closure. A week later, Nathan arranged a small gathering at his home. Just family, and only the family who chose truth over power. Amber stood beside him, glowing with a strength I hadn't seen before this nightmare began. "To new beginnings," Nathan toasted. Ethan raised his glass too. "To family who fight for you, not against you." We clinked glasses. As the sun set, Amber squeezed my hand. "Thank you for never giving up, for standing by me when it cost you everything." I smiled. That's what real family does. The TikTok video that had started it all was still out there. Millions had seen it. Millions had commented, shared, and debated. The Carsons had tried to erase it, tried to erase Amber, tried to erase me. They failed. And while the internet would eventually move on to other dramas, other scandals, our story would remain, a testament to what happens when truth refuses to stay buried.